Okay, everybody, welcome back to Conspirinormal. We, I guess, are starting to count down to the Strange Realities Conference coming up in November.
And who
November
else
1st.
would we start with?
Yeah, who else to start with but Tim Binnall, who has been a mainstay of the conference since the very beginning. But we're not going to just talk about that. We're going to talk about a grab bag of topics tonight. So just, a lot of stuff. But first, Tim Binnall of America is back.
The revival. Come on,
revival.
you guys. Stick to the brand here. Stick to the brand. First of all, thanks for having me back. I think this is like my first solo appearance on the show in like years, because I know you guys love the roundtable format. So
Yeah.
I mentioned to Aaron Gullius said I was going to be on tonight, and I'm like, I'm going to be on Adam's show, and he's like, how many guests are you going to be on with? I'm like, it's just me. I can't believe it. So this is good. We're going to have a lot of fun. Binnall of America's back, actually. It's been back now 6 months to the day, pretty much. We just rolled out episode 26 today, which is, it's no small feat, but I guess in the world of podcasting, it is kind of a small feat. But for me, it's no small feat. And I remember when I was on Conspirinormal last time, right as we were getting ready to head down to Nashville, I was talking about bringing Binnall of America back, and I said that I wanted to, I distinctly recall saying, like, oh, I don't want to come back for like 6 weeks. Like, I want to come back for like at least 6 months. And so here we are. So I'm kind of happy that I accomplished that, because we had a lot of start and stops after we sort of wrapped it up in New Orleans a few years ago. And I ran a few episodes, I do like 4 or 5, and then kind of just be like, I'm all set for this for a while. So when I really decided to bring Binnall of America back, I really, like I said, committed to really, really fucking doing it this time. And and that's what we've been doing. So we put out 6 months worth of shows, and I think that was kind of my milestone in my mind. Like, all right, let's make it to 6 months, because that's kind of what I had always sort of planned. But I don't see any indication that I'm going to stop. So it's like I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, so it's going to keep going for a while. I've kind of kicked around the idea of like taking a month off, but I almost don't want to break the momentum that we've got going. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been interesting. It's been a real it's just weird being back in the saddle of doing podcasts again. So you remember all the different weird sort of aspects of it, like, oh, I got a guest that talks all the time, or I got a guest that doesn't talk enough, or I got a low talker, or I got a wicked loud guy. He's always like this weird shit, or he's somebody who can't like figure out how to get the thing running, and just all kinds of stuff. So and scheduling guests is like a whole different ball game since when I got into podcasting almost 20 years ago. So it's like now it's like almost every guest has a podcast. So it's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, right.
This is crazy.
I guess the longest that you've run before this, between the time that you stopped in 2018, so I guess the longest was the coronavirus specials, right?
Yeah, that, and then we did the Summer of Strangeness right afterwards. So 2020 was like my most prolific year after the New Orleans retirement in 2018. And the coronavirus thing, that was like a different show. I mean, that was like I had a co-host, Tyler Cookjohn. We did callers. It was like the closest thing to like a real radio show. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, despite the circumstances. It was a really interesting experience. Yeah, we did 10 of those, and then I took a month off and did like 10 paranormal shows in the summer for the Summer of Strangeness. And then that was like the longest I did anything seriously. And then I think like in 2021, 2022, 2023, it was just kind of like 5 episodes, maybe 4 episodes. Like I think I did at least 1 episode each year, but it wasn't much. And I was thinking today, knowing we were going to be talking about this on the show tonight, it's like I think 26 straight weeks is that might be more than I ever did in my entire 18, 19 year run here of podcasting. Like I can't even recall. I'm sure there were times when I took a week off in between shows, like back in the day, but here we are. It's been going steady since the end of October. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been cool. I really I take a lot of pride in the sort of the catalog of Binnall of America because it's so deep and old.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like I really enjoy the fact that we've added now these 26 more shows into what I think like a legendary catalog of programs, and that's kind of partially what keeps me going. I just want to keep like expanding this body of work that I've been putting in for the last almost couple decades.
Yeah, it's like a legacy show at this point. Is it starting to feel weird when you're not podcasting for a few months?
No, in a sense, when I hung it up in 2018, it was like I transitioned from podcasting to writing with Coast to Coast, and it just took up so much of my time and everything.
Okay.
And it was only until I got the itch, like I think like last year, really like for most of the beginning of the year. And it was like, I really kind of have the itch to come back. So it was like, then it was tackling all the technology and shit, which really isn't that hard, but it was like, so I kind of had the itch. And then now it's a little weird just to be pre-tape the show. So I might go like a couple of weeks between shows and it's just like, oh geez, I gotta, I feel a little out of sorts here. Cause I haven't done a show in a while, but then there's weeks like this week, I taped a show Monday night, Tuesday night, and here I am tonight, Wednesday, talking to you guys. So I'm like, this is crazy. Like, like I'm doing shows all the time now. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's cool. There's a lot of times I found myself without any outlet to say anything about shit that was happening in the world of the paranormal or just thoughts on different topics. And so now it's great to have guests on. I can talk about like ghosts and Bigfoot and UFOs and sort of weigh in with my opinions on shit, which I felt like I didn't really have an outlet for that besides appearances on this show. Because I'm really not on a lot of shows, I'm not complaining because I just told you, I just taped 2 shows I just taped 2 shows the other night. So, it takes up a lot of time. God bless him. I think Josh Kutcher, when he came to visit me back in September, when Adam was here too, it was like he said he was like the week before he did like five straight nights of shows. It's like, Jesus, dude.
Hell no.
Yeah, that's like brutal. So, but here I am. This is my 3rd straight night. So I'm turning into Kutch here because if somebody wanted to schedule a show tomorrow night, I'd be like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll do it. It's like I'm kind of just in this real churn out the shows and tape, I kind of like it in a way sometimes too. It sort of like pushes you to, it's like, shit, I got to tape a show tonight, tape a show tomorrow night. It's like, this is a lot of fun. So it's cool.
Awesome. I know you've really advanced the production and stuff, but do you ever want to maybe have like a little button for old time's sake that just says Blog Talk Radio?
No, because that would be like post-traumatic because that Blog Talk was just such a shit show.
I love being on the countdown though, like before it started, and you'd hop over and talk to us.
Yes. Yeah. No, that was cool. It gave you sort of the feeling that you were like
about live and urgency. Yeah.
That was the cool part about it. The annoying part was like all the sort of glitchiness of it, or like when you've got a show scheduled and then you go to start and it's like, oh, Blog Talk shit the bed tonight. So it's like, fuck, man. Or it's like, you don't know if it's even broadcasting. It's very haphazard. So yeah, I'm happy to have moved away from Blog Talk, though I do miss the live shows. So, I mean, I feel like now that we've done 6 months and kind of got that under our belt, there's 2 areas I'd like to get into at some point now going forward, which is the live show aspect, and then doing something with video. So that's the 2, if we're going to expand the universe a little bit,
okay.
I've thought about sort of doing something visually, maybe even a spin-off show, and definitely maybe and doing something live. So
I want to see like a paranormal late night show with you, Tim.
That would be pretty cool. I could definitely see that happen. That would be a lot of fun.
So you've done 26 episodes now of the Revival.
Yeah.
Have there been any of the guests that have kind of topics that have stood out to you and the ones that you've done recently?
Justin McHenry, I got to put over huge. He's been on Conspirinormal. He's a huge Binnall of America fan. He wrote an outstanding book on Lemuria. True Story of a Fake Place. It is really fantastic. As a fan, as a
Really?
flat Earth fan, I really loved it. It was very reminiscent of my flat Earth research. Alex Matsuo, Women of the Paranormal. We just had her on recently. That was eye opening. Just the contributions of these various trailblazing women that kind of have been forgotten about and marginalized by the paranormal community. So that was really, I can honestly say, like, when I read her book, I came out of it knowing so much more than I thought than I had before. So I was like, wow, this is really awesome. Tony Wright stands out as a big one because I'm super into the Yuba County Five case.
Yeah, yeah. I want to talk about that in a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, so I got a bit of recency bias. Those are like and I'll be perfectly honest. People can't see here right now, but I've literally got Justin McHenry's book here. Alex Matsuo's book's like on my refrigerator over here. So it's a little bit of like I will confess, it's a little bit of like Jan Brady here, Phil Glass situation. So it's sort of like, yeah, Justin McHenry and Alex Matsuo, but yeah, those two definitely stand out as two significant. But like I said, I have a bit of recency bias. I mean, tons of people. Michael Hughes, friend of the program, friend of Strange Realities. Steven Snyder, Kutch, just all kinds of folks. All kinds of folks. It's been really fun. It's been fun. As I said to Steve Berg, we kind of talked about it. I think it was either when I was on his show, kind of when it just started, or when he came on the Revival when we first got it rolling. But it's a lot of fun to like curate the list of guests and pick and choose and kind of, I put a lot of thought into who's going to be on the show. So that's a lot of fun. So that's part of that's really kind of like a big part of the enjoyment of doing the show is curating the guest list and figuring out like, oh, I'd really like to talk to this person. And I'd really like to talk to that person. And then getting them on the show and stuff. So it's cool.
The last episode you had was Amanda Paulson. Well, that's the last episode that I heard.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really good episode with her as well.
Thanks. Yeah, I really like what she's doing.
She's someone I'd like to get on.
I was going to ask if you have any like upcoming themes or concentrations or topics or things you want to start exploring in the near future of the show.
Not really, no. I mean, I'm kind of right now at a ebb. Like I just taped, like I said, I just taped 2. That'll get us through like the beginning of May, and I think I got one more on the schedule for like the last weekend in April. But I have a very actually quite open schedule right now. I'm just thinking about it today, where it's like, all right, now I got to start booking the next round of guests. So I haven't really. I'm just kind of sitting down thinking about like who the next like 3 or 4 people I'm going to try and schedule is. I mean, as far as like, yeah, long term, it's really, like I said, the video, the live aspect of it. And I think maybe I'd like to, ironically, because I was giving you shit there at the beginning, but like more round, like I'd do a few round tables. I do enjoy that. And it'd be kind of fun to like mix and match guests. Cause aside from like situations where it's like a known pairing, like Jack Brewer and Erica Lukes, who we had on early in the year, or
like
Tobias
you
and Emily Wayland. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So unless it's like an established pairing, I've mostly done solo guests. So, and I do, I'd like to do more sort of like mixing and matching of guests as we go along. So, I think I am big on themes and shit like that. So I could see, it's only the end of April. Like I might start cooking up some kind of idea for the summer, like cool. Maybe it'll still be the Revival, but it'll be like the Summer of Strangeness. And maybe we'll have some sort of ideas of theme episodes for the summer or something like that. But, I haven't given it all that much thought right now.
Awesome.
As far as like the live aspects, have you thought about streaming live on YouTube?
Yeah, I think that's how I'd have to do it. So
yeah. Pretty much now. Unless for some reason Blog Talk Radio still exists, but I don't know if it does or not.
No, but I think but live also we would do like with the video, so it's kind of it'll be like and knowing me, like I'll make it like a big kind of production. So it'll be like, all right, it's going to be like our little WrestleMania, or it's like a WWE weekend event or some shit, where it's like, all right, for 3 hour long fucking, barn burner, Binnall of America Live or some shit. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
guess
barn
I guess
burner.
technically I was there for the very first, I guess sort of the very first episode of the revival whenever we were there at your
kind of,
place.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
sort of the announcement that we were going to be going, that the show was coming back for real. So yeah, back in September.
And I know we've talked about it before, but you have gotten all of your very first episodes cataloged on YouTube now, right?
No, not all of them. But
At least to, yeah.
I've got the first three seasons, and I've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
told that that the remaining seasons are going to start rolling back up again soon. So yeah, but yeah, I think there's like almost 100 of the classic ones, and we've still got a ton more to get up there. But they'll get up there. So yeah, that's cool. It'll be
Like
fun.
the catalog there.
Yeah, we're trying to get the whole catalog up, so it'll get there eventually. It's a massive undertaking, so hats off to Bruce for working on it. We kind of had a little pause here, but we're gonna get it going again soon. I hope.
Awesome.
Well, good. Very good. So just recently, we were not in the path of totality for the eclipse.
Oh yeah,
But in 2017, I got to be, and Surfiel obviously did too, back in here in Nashville, Path of Totality. And it is quite something to experience, but you got to experience it this time.
yes, I was fucking blown away, dude. Did you guys both see it in 2017?
Yeah,
Yes.
I saw it. Yeah.
It was awesome. It was amazing. I went to this little it was like a fucking pilgrimage in a way, and very unlike me in a way. I brought my little 78-year-old mom with me because it was like, this is it, you got to see, she never seen an eclipse either, and I'm like, well, let's not, we don't need to address the elephant in the room, but the next one's come around for like 25 years, so it's it's make or break on this one. So we went up to this city in Vermont, like a 3-hour drive. And then from there, in order to beat the traffic and everything, we went up on the first day, on the Sunday before the eclipse. Then from there, we got up like at 8 o'clock in the morning and then drove an hour. I had like this app on my phone that could tell you like from where you are, where the fucking eclipse was going to be, the totality, and how long it was going to be. And it was like everybody in the area was going to like Burlington, Vermont, some of these big cities. And there was like one, it's a city. It's the smallest city in Vermont. So they call it the Little City, but it's like really just a small, like New England town,
Mhm.
called Vergennes. And I'm like looking at the app and I'm like, well, this place, Vergennes, it's an hour north. They get 2.5 minutes of totality. That should be enough. Because some of these places like 10 seconds. It's like, well, who the fuck wants to even be there for that? So we drove up to Vergennes like super fucking early because I had no idea. I'm like, what the hell? This could be, we could get there, it could be like backed up all the way down Main Street. But we got there super early, got great parking. By the time the thing happened, the little town was like packed with people, and it was like traffic like backed up all the way.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It was like, first we went down to this waterfall. They have like a waterfall water turbine thing there, and like there was just like 3 super old people sleeping on the shore of the river or whatever, and it was like super quiet and everything, except, well, it was quiet except for the fucking waterfall. And it was like, I don't know. I said to my mom, I'm like, I don't know if this is the right place to have to experience this, because like there's no one even around. Like there's this loud ass fucking waterfall. Like I feel like we're not going to hear any animals or whatever if that's going to happen. So we eventually went back to Main Street and went right onto the Common where there were like 400 or 500 people there to see this, and it was like this amazing fucking communal event. And we, everybody in the town, everybody who gathered together there, we're all just looking at this thing, and we have the glasses on, and it was like, it goes on for like an hour and 15 minutes, it seems like it takes. So the first like 45 minutes are like torturous because you're kind of watching, like it's getting there. And then that last half hour is just like amazing. And that's when it like starts to get all twilighty and like weird looking. And then as it gets closer and closer, like then you're down to like the final few minutes. I know you guys probably experienced this too. Like you have the glasses on, you're kind of like watching, but then I kept wanting to like peek around to see what it looked like around me. So I'm kind of going back and forth and watching this thing and looking around. It's getting darker and darker and just darker and darker. And, it's like a super, like, it's like a super fast sunset in a way, it is a sunset in some ways, I suppose, but it's like you experience a sunset in like way faster time than it takes for the sun to set naturally. I didn't really think about that till now, but that's really what it was like. Cause like when the sun sets at first, you
mentioned the animals. And one thing that I noticed in 2017 is like the birds stop and the crickets or the insects around you start. It's like it just everything just gets confused for just a few minutes, and then it passes, and then everything goes back. The birds start back up again. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting feeling.
Oh, it's amazing! It really is. It's. I would do it again in a heartbeat. And then I didn't necessarily, because there was so many people there. I didn't really quite get the wildlife part of it, but there were like fucking tons of people with their dogs. So they kind of had different dogs reacting in a weird way, and like when you're watching the thing, as you guys probably remember, like when you get to the very end, it's like you're waiting for that little tiny fucking dot to go away, and it's like there it goes, and you gotta imagine it's like fucking hundreds of people, and everyone's just like kind of cheering and shit, and then finally you're looking through the glasses, and it's pitch black, and you're hearing like like fucking people going nuts, and then I lift up my glasses, and where it was black, completely black, there's this fucking like just spectacular, beautiful, breathtaking corona, I guess is what it's called, right? So don't fucking ask me. A little
used to not
circle,
be such a bad word.
Yeah, exactly. A circle of light. Like it looked like a fucking UFO. It looked otherworldly, man. It really did. It was like, and I just remember and everybody around me, it was just going like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Just kept hearing that from like all the people around me. And I was just like, oh my God. My mother was just like awestruck. She said she was like, she said she like almost fainted. I had to kind of like hold her up. I'm like, look at that fucking thing. This is amazing. So, and I was like, felt physically different, like shaken. I don't know. It was really, really something else, man. Yeah. I was like, had body chills or some shit. And then, when it goes, it's really crazy to think about, because like then the moon moves off the sun and it's just like 99.9% fucking covered. But that little tiny bit, it just goes pop, and then the fucking sun's back the way it normally looks, and you can't look at it anymore or anything, even though it's 99.9% covered. It's like, what the fuck? That's crazy that it just, that tiny bit is enough to like blot out everything else. And then afterwards, I just had this intense feeling of euphoria. I still get it when I talk about it, even now. And like everybody there was just euphoric and shit. And we're like, what did we just fucking experience? So yeah, it was, I think I would say, I kind of hasten to say, but I think it would be in like the 10 most remarkable moments or days of my lives. It was that amazing. Yeah. I'd maybe even 5. It was like that earth shattering. I was like, holy shit, this is like something I've never seen before in my entire life. Yeah. Like, and it's beautiful and like breathtaking. It was like looking at fucking, it was like looking at God or something. It was really fucking amazing.
It awakened your cosmic consciousness.
Yeah, for real.
Just as a natural phenomena, it's quite an amazing thing to witness. But it seems like this year, I don't know how much was going on in 2017. People were still pretty crazy, but this year it became something else entirely to some of these like woo-woo and conspiratorial paranormal folks. Like for some reason, I guess they don't remember there being multiple eclipses in their lifetimes, but this year it was like something else. Yeah. There's all this weird conspiracy shit.
Yeah.
Eclipse.
I noticed that, it got kind of stirred up a lot because it was like a crisscross, because it like made an X,
Yeah.
So it was like, I think that people read a lot into that and shit, but it's like, it's amazing that people are so dumb. It's just that they're like, just that they think that like I saw in some instances like people kind of acted as if like this, like an eclipse was like a hurricane or something, like it just happened, or like that the government made it happen or something. It's like, no, dude, it just fucking happens like naturally. It's like a mathematical equation. Like they can figure out when it's going to happen for the next 4,000 years. Like it doesn't, like it doesn't have anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they knew about this eclipse for probably the last 4,000 years. It's something like that. It's like
Yeah, as soon as they can
these have
figure
been
it out.
estimated for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, there were like end of the world type shit in 2017, but not nearly as bad. But I didn't read too much into the conspiracy theories because probably partially because I was going fucking to see the eclipse. I thought to myself, honestly, I'm like, look, if all hell breaks loose, I'm in a tiny town in fucking Vermont that's like maybe I don't have a passport, but like it's like 3 hours from the border. I'll run through the fucking woods of Canada to get away from whatever I gotta fucking leave back in America if the world fucking blows up. So it wasn't really, but yeah, there's always these people always fucking go. They need something. They need these lampshades to put their shit on. They need some event, like fucking a celestial event's like perfect for crazy people because it's it's and I don't want to shade this lady, but it just on the different part of the sort of thought process related to all this. We were at this like crystal place, sort of like a new agey type place in the little town, and I'm just kind of chatting up the proprietor of this lady, and she's like, I'm like, you must be psyched. You're getting all kinds of people in here and shit. And this was maybe a half hour before the whole thing even started, right? So, she had a little bit of time to kill. And she's like, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I just want to get onto my property and get ready for it. And then she's like, fucking, and it's like me and my mom and some young woman that was shopping there. And so like the fucking proprietor like runs to the front door and like locks the fucking door. And she's like, I'm just going to lock you guys in here, so no one else comes in because I really want to get to my property. Said that again. So then I'm like, okay, and I don't think my mom didn't get the hint. So she's like still shopping around. Finally, I grab her. I'm like, let's just get the fuck out of this lady. She would much rather, given the option, have us leave this store than buy a whole bunch of shit. She doesn't want to sell us anything right now. She just wanted to. And then I'm like, all right, we're going to get out of here. And she's like, I'm going to go head up to my property now and meditate. And I'm like, you do that. Yeah. So she was really fucking, It was just a fun experience, like an interesting character run into. She was just all about getting to that property. Part of me is like, shit, where is this property?
Compound.
Yeah.
Is this town kind of got the new AG's presence there?
No, it's just like a little New England.
Place.
Just this one place. Yeah. Just this one place. This nice lady. I mean, she was cool. I get what she was cooking, but it was just like, well, I could feel she had this intensity where it's just like, she's too peace and love just to be like, get the fuck out of my store. I want to go back to my place. So yeah, it was a funny sort of like experience.
Well, you mentioned the paths 2017, 2024 crossing, and people were making a big deal about how it crossed over the New Madrid fault line, which is close to St. Louis and, in the southern Illinois area. And it triggering earthquakes and these type of things. And they said that's
that earthquake.
And there was the one in New Jersey.
That earthquake. That kind of gave me pause. I wasn't going to cancel the trip, but I definitely was like, what if these things are fucking connected? Yeah. What if there's some kind of connection between this earthquake and the solar eclipse? But then it was like, well, we'll see. Like I said, I was up in this tiny town, so I figured I could make a good getaway.
Between 2017 and now, in the last 7 years, there's been that rise of TikTok. And I think a lot of the crazier stuff that Surfiel was seeing was on TikTok.
Oh, yeah. I mean, first it started with there's going to be massive power outages and all this kind of shit. But then it evolved and like all these, aspirational influencer spiritual gurus were talking about, we're going to ascend or
Oh God.
The government don't want you to look at it, so I'm just gonna stare right at it, and like all
Oh
this
God.
kind of shit.
Yeah.
But then, like related to the subjects you've been really interested in, Tim, the flat Earth community and stuff, and these weird ancient cosmologies that seem to be returning. The really popular ones are like someone videotaping the eclipse, and then they're like, "But the moon's over there," and they like do this little switch on the camera. And so, it gets really stupid. But
thankfully I'm not on TikTok, so but it is the bane of my existence because it's very popular. It's got a shitload of like crazy videos, but as a purveyor of crazy videos, it's like very often they're terrible. They're super fake. Or they're fucking, this drives me up the wall. They're like videos from like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and they like become reviral. And it's like, as a guy who like publishes stories with paranormal videos, it's like, I did that fucking video like
totally taken out of context.
Yeah, like 4 years ago, and here it is now. Everyone's passing it around on fucking TikTok, and then it's getting articles written about it, and it's like, oh, geez, man. So yeah, TikTok. It's those short form videos and everything. I'm sure there's a good way to do that kind of thing, and I'm sure there's actually a lot of quality content on there. But for in our realm, in the world of the weird and crazy, it's like it's a bad scene.
Yeah, it's a really bad scene. But it just shows that anything that may be significant but still normal, like a solar eclipse or hell, I mean, like there being conflict in the Middle East. Becomes like an apocalyptic event, or it's just.
I think people got It sometimes it feels like we are living in the end, And the way I get that I can kind of see why people get freaked out. Like you see that it's the movie, the End of the World movie that with Sandra Bullock. That was like don't look up, the one where like there's a terrorist attack and the power goes out. I don't want to call it the Obama movie, but that's how the conspiracy people were like, because it's like, was it Sandra Bullock? No, I don't think so. Julia Roberts. It was Julia Roberts.
Leave the World Behind.
Leave the World Behind. Yes. I think that kind of primed up a lot of the thinking of people getting paranoid and shit. Because that boat that hit the bridge in Baltimore is kind of like the boat in the movie. And people were like, oh, this is all a precursor, Obama fucking
programming.
Yeah. So I think people got a little freaked out. There's a lot of freaky movies. There's a Civil War movie that's out now that I really want to see. It's like, it looks really good. It looks really good. I heard they kind of stripped the politics out of it and sort of tried to leave it as vague as possible as to why there was a civil war. It sounds just really interesting, but that's one of those where you're like, oh, this is like too close to home.
When I first saw the preview, I was like, really, guys, this is what we need right now. And I guess it's a British guy who did it, right, Adam?
Yeah, Alex Garland.
Yeah. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He doesn't understand the pain that my ancestors and Adam's ancestors and Seraphiel's ancestors went through during the Civil War.
No, he doesn't.
But yeah, the Civil War movie, it looks good. I'll be checking it out.
Because it was a little confusing when I first heard about it, because it's like California and Texas are teaming up.
That's what they tried to. Yeah, that's what they tried to do.
And you think about like two opposite states that would team up together, but I think it's supposed to kind of be I think that's supposed to be a way to kind of
strip the politics out of it.
Some cognitive dissonance and take the politics out of it. Because
that's exactly right. Yeah,
there's some interviews with Alex Garland, and he says that's the reason why he just really wants to show the war, and it's not necessarily it's about the war.
It's
and
like what? Yeah.
And like what really caused it. It's deliberately vague, I think.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit of like an alternate universe type of thing.
Yeah. So in a way, it's kind of like I would prefer not to have a civil war. So it's probably just going to serve to gin up the people who were like, that would be fucking awesome.
I saw an interview as well where he's saying that, I want to just, start the conversation that we really don't want to do this. And it'd be so bad. I was like, dude, you don't understand Americans right now. They're fucking crazy. And
I don't
they don't give a fuck.
I've said it before. I don't think a civil war would necessarily manifest itself in the way that's depicted. Well, I haven't seen the movie, but it looks at this way that's depicted in that movie. I think it'd be more like a low level kind of intensity conflict. than
Yeah.
than that kind of war between the states aspect.
Right.
Right. Well, we got really lucky as a country because our Civil War was like split right down the middle, but it was very easy to
tell who's who, right?
conceptualize. Yeah, it wasn't like if there was a Civil War now, it'd just be like fucking
Right.
pockets of fighting all over the place. And
Most civil wars are really between political factions, and I mean you could say that for the same of ours, but there definitely was a much more geographical aspect.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
To the American Civil War, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Yuba County Five.
Yes, I love
Because
these.
Netflix has this what is it? It's called Mysteries. It's like Mysteries of the Unsolved or Mysteries of the Unexplained, something like that.
Yeah.
And I watched the first 3 episodes. Third episode is about Yuba County Five, and of course they interview Tony Wright, who just put out a new book about it. I think it's called "Something Is Not Right."
Yeah.
And that's
right.
you just interviewed him, but you also interviewed when you first came back Drew Hurst Beeson, who I had on. We talked about the DB Cooper stuff, touched a little bit on Yuba County, but not too much. It's such a crazy case.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's mystifying.
Didn't you give your 2022 Strange Realities talk on that?
Yes, I've been a Yuba County Five student for the last like 2 and a year and a half since 2 years, because about when I picked up deciding to go after the story for Strange Realities. So I've been fortunate enough to become friends with Drew Hurst Beeson and then Tony Wright, and they've kind of like, I mean, they're really on the ground floor of this story. I'm really happy that it's becoming more well known. I was really psyched about the Netflix special or the Netflix episode, because like I think there was only one other, which is crazy when you think about how many shows there are with true crime elements, but there's only, as far as I know, been one other depiction of the case on fucking. There's like a cable channel for cars, believe it or not. I forget. It's like Goodyear owns the fucking channel or something. I don't know. It's one of these major. Motor Trend, I think, might be the name of the channel, Motor Trend. But anyway, it had its own sort of true crime show that was like infamous cars, and one of the things was the Yuba County Five. The only other time, as far as I know, that it's been covered on any sort of show, which is really kind of crazy. I'm hoping that with the 50th anniversary coming up in a couple of years, that it will really get a lot of coverage, because more people need to know about this story. It's really unbelievable. I think I don't know if we even ever talked about it when I was on the show here before. I'll give like
I don't think we did. So let's talk a little bit about what Yuba County Five
is.
Talking about, so people understand. You know, some people may not know it, even though it is becoming a little more famous recently. But also to point out too that I think Tony Wright might have said this, or somebody may have said this, that Yuba County Five podcast was originally supposed to have been a documentary.
Yes, yeah.
I think they decided to make it into a podcast, which that's well worth checking out too.
Oh, absolutely. That's fantastic. I don't recall the name of it off the top of my head, but it's I
think it's just Yuba County Five Podcast. I think it's what it's called.
Yeah, but there's like a production company that made it that always kind of gets name dropped, but I don't remember what it was. Yeah. But so the Yuba County Five case, it's 5 guys. 4 of them had intellectual disabilities, and this was like 1978. 78.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to sort of to figure out exactly what their intellectual disabilities were, because this was 78 and they really didn't have the diagnostics or any of the research into this kind of thing at all. So they all had it's generally kind of believed that a lot of them, some of them may have been autistic, but it's very difficult. None of them were ever like diagnosed with anything. And a 5th guy who was schizophrenic, Matthias. Gary Matthias. Yeah. See, I don't have the names in front of me, but Gary Matthias is their 5th friend who's schizophrenic. So they go up to a community college basketball game. They drive an hour north to see it. This isn't unusual for them. This is part of where the confusion about the story really happens, where people think that these guys couldn't function in society when in fact, like, they had jobs, they drove, some of them had girlfriends. It's like, I think people really underestimate the abilities and the capabilities of the Yuba County Five, or the boys, as they've come to be known. That's a positive. That's what they were always called. They were like the gang. They were the boys. So they go up to the game. They watch the game. They drive home. Ostensibly, they never come home. Families are like, "Where are these? Where are the boys?" They didn't come home. They have a huge basketball game the next day, so they would absolutely were going to come home. There was no like they wouldn't have done anything to miss the basketball game. So they search for them along the highway where they should have been, and the town in Chico where the game was. They can't find them. Then a few days later, somebody finds their car about 70 miles off in the wrong direction, up in the mountains of Yuba County, I believe, right? I don't know that, I'm not a geography guy, but up in the mountains, in the forested mountains of California. And so then they're like, well, that's really weird. Why are they an hour off the thing? And where are they? Because they're not there. So then they search and search and search for like several weeks in this really rugged, mountainous, snowy terrain. They can't find these guys. They give up. Like 3 months later, Jackie Hewitt, I believe. No, not Jackie Hewitt. I'm going to mess up all the names. I apologize to the Yuba folks. I don't have it in my head. But anyway, they find one of the guys in like a forestry cabin deep in the woods, about, I want to say 17 miles from where the car was. So they ostensibly would have had to have walked 17 miles, this guy, to the thing. So they're like, oh, shit, we found one of the guys. So then they start looking around. They find two more of them about a few miles away, seemingly either on their way up to the cabin or on their way back. They find the fourth guy. That was Jackie Hewitt. They find the fourth guy, Jackie Hewitt, outside about a mile outside the cabin. So four of the boys are found. Gary Mathias is never found. And that's the end of the mystery, which is there's two parts really to the mystery, which is why it's so difficult to solve, I think. Because it's like, why did they go all up into the woods, right? Like, this is completely out of character for them. They just would not do this. And there's a million details as to why. I won't even get into it. You got to check out the multimedia on these things, folks. It's an amazing story. Read Tony Wright's book, check out the podcast. But there's, why did they go up into the woods? Then B, why did they all decide to bail from the car and then go another additional, completely even more out of character journey through the snow to this forestry cabin? So that's the Yuba County Five story in a nutshell. And then, which they don't get into in the Netflix special, is there's a character named Joseph Shones who is like the wild card villain of the story, because when they find the car, then he comes forward and he's like, oh yeah, I saw that car. I was up on the mountain that night on the same road, and I had a heart attack, and they pulled up behind me, and they wouldn't help me. And then his story kind of changes over time. Then he's like, so I passed out, and then another car came, and I don't know, and then I just passed out again, and he just like, then they were gone. Essentially, is kind of his story. It really kind of isn't. It's flimsy as hell, and like the only reason why anyone even believes him is because he did show up at this restaurant ski lodge thing at the bottom of the road. The night that the guys went missing. So he had like come down from the fucking mountain on foot and bumbled into this restaurant lodge thing and had a beer and shit and fucking needed a ride home because his car was stuck up on the mountain. So he was definitely there. His story is full of all kinds of holes, like that he fucking had a heart attack and then like walked like 7 miles down this mountainous road over the course of like 4 hours. And, he didn't suffer any hypothermia or anything, and it's very very shady, and a lot of people think he had something to do with with their disappearance. But he's, as far as I know, like this, he died, and then I don't know if his family fucking, they're certainly not talking about it. So it's kind of like no one really knows what exactly what the, it's very, they call it the American Dyatlov past. It's like very similar, and it's like what was, I kept harping on this with Drew Beeson when we talked back at the end of last year, where it's like unknown compelling force. That's the key to the mystery. There was an unknown compelling force that drove them off the highway on the way home and then up into the mountains. It's presumably the same unknown compelling force, but what that was, no one knows. So it's a really crazy story, and as you can tell, I feel like an asshole because I used to be able to rattle the guys' names off the top of my head, but I I hadn't really considered me talking about it tonight, so I didn't look it up. So that was all just for memory. But
no, that's a good summary.
Yeah,
that's a good summary of it. There's so many layers of mystery in this case. Like it's just so much that it's just it really just boggles the mind. But like one of the things was that he was in the bed and he was like tucked into the bed. So it was almost just like somebody had to have done that.
Right.
The Gary Mathias guy who is the schizophrenic. And that's kind of a debate in and of itself of whether or not he could have had some responsibility because he was schizophrenic. He was known to have episodes. However, he was on
medication
and everything. But from the time that they had been up there, he would have run out of that medication.
Right.
I do wonder if he may have had some things to do with it, but also too, the biggest mystery for me, or the biggest what the fuck moment for me, is where was the trailer that they were in. I think even someone had even told them. I think the Park Service had even told them, the police, that there was that trailer up there.
Yeah, that's
they deemed that there was no way they could possibly have gotten up there, so they didn't even bother to check it. Meanwhile, that's where he was, probably still alive at the time.
Right.
And that, probably could have solved everything, at least if one person that was alive and knew what happened.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Now, for my own, OCD and for the edification of the listeners, and because they are the most important part of the story, the Yuba County Five, the boys, it's Bill Sterling, Jackie Hewitt, Ted Weir, Jack Madruga, and Gary Mathias. And Ted Weir was the one who was found in the cabin, all tucked up. Someone had to have swaddled him in all these sheets. There's no way you could physically do that to yourself. And Bill Sterling and Jack Madruga were the guys who were found several miles away from the cabin. And Jackie Hewitt was the one who was found about a mile away. So yeah, Ted Weir's story is like the most mystifying, that how he got there. But absolutely, it makes no sense to me, as I was saying to Tony Wright when he was on BOA. It's like the story, as far as I can tell, is that they followed a snowcat trail to the trailer. So like, how the fuck didn't they see the snowcat trail when they found the car if it was just a few days later? Like, presumably there was some kind of trail that led them to the cabin. Like, they didn't just go up in pure snow. The understanding was that there was the trail that was made. So it's like, how did that get missed? Like, how? I don't understand that at all.
This has been said before, but the Netflix documentary says it as well. And there are a few of the family members that are still alive that feel this way. They think that one of the reasons why that they just did not extensively look for them as well as they should have is because they were deemed and labeled, and the language of the time was retarded. Even though these were four guys, because Gary Mathias really, he had schizophrenia, but these are four young men that had some kind of really what you would just deem now as probably either autism or some kind of learning disability. But at
Yeah,
the time
yeah.
in the media, it was said that they were retarded, and they make the point of just like, well, if we had said that these were star basketball players, would they have, so there was a lot of you could see that, with the families especially, and you're talking really,
Oh, they were
um,
very
you're
upset. I
talking
was.
brothers, sisters, cousins, these, that and I think one of the fathers is still alive, but I think that they are very still just like it is a very much a sore spot for them that not they feel that not enough was done to have figured out what
Oh
happened.
yeah.
Guys.
Oh, absolutely. I think they're right. I think it was. Yeah, these guys were kind of written off. So it really, and the
Yeah.
media really like. Yeah, the media really just did kind of a shitty job of it too.
It's
So it's.
and
Yeah, it was bad.
I think the police officially just think that these guys were just such bumbling idiots that they did it to themselves. Or the possibility that they were scared of Gary Mathias and maybe he was off his meds and he led them up there. But I've
Yeah,
heard that kind of comedy of errors that they have this
I
comedy of errors theory that they, just bumbled on up and
yes,
got
people
stuck and yeah,
people fucking use that theory all the time, and it's so
yeah,
dumb. It's just so dumb. Like, I was watching this special with my family, and like, it was really clear from the way a lot of these guys were described that it was like it was actually like the opposite in a sense, where it's like their sort of quirks wouldn't have allowed for them to go on this misadventure. It's like they led very regimented lives.
Right.
Like
yeah.
spur of the moment was not in their character whatsoever. So it's like, and people seem to they make that connection wrongly. So it's annoying.
I remember you mentioning that in the talk. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else. I hope the case gets a lot of information, a lot of attention in a few years, and maybe somebody will come forward. I don't know what else is really. Well, the only other thing that could come about, which is talking about it with Gary Wright, is the police files like from because it was like 4 or 5 counties involved. So it's like he's only seen the police files for one county. So maybe there's something in one of those other repositories of records from the case that could be of interest. That's the only, I look at this as kind of like, all right, how could you solve this? That's like the only
Yeah.
way you could really, unless someone, and I don't even want to necessarily point the finger at the Shones dude per se, but it's like, unless a family member of his has some kind of like insight,
Yeah.
some extra information,
Mhm.
because he's the only witness to what went down. So it's a maddening case. I mentioned to Tony too. It's like, it's before like DNA and shit. If this happened nowadays, they would know who the fuck was in that cabin for sure. Like, because there's all kinds of debates. Like,
Right.
did we know that Ted Weir was there? Did Gary make it there? Did Jack Hewitt make it there? Did Bill Sterling and Jack Madrid? We don't know, like,
Yeah.
any of their stories and where they ultimately ended up.
I have my own kind of personal theory what could have happened. I think that they had a run in with someone and these people scared them up that mountain
Yeah.
or basically forced them up the mountain. And then if Gary Mathias was with them and he did not have access to his medication, the schizophrenia would have begun to manifest. And who knows how that would have manifested. And possibility that they became scared or frightened of him. And it was really something really bad was going on up there with him.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the possibility. And then once the guy died, I think he was the one that wrapped him up because he may have been having some kind of episode
Yeah.
and he just left. Because there is that person that says that they saw him in a bar not too long after that, and other sides
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's interesting. I think that that's what could possibly fit all the evidence. But it's interesting in and of itself that like we're just never gonna know, what happened and just how damn mysterious it is.
Never say never.
Weird.
Yeah.
Well, it's possible.
Never,
Somebody could come, somebody could There's that, they do suspect that there's someone there in the community that,
Yeah, there is a
they talk about
suspect.
that in the
Yeah,
podcast. Yeah.
person of interest, the town bully. That's the other
So,
theory. So it's that would be that's the other possible angle. Yeah,
and who knows what was happening in these small towns, in these police departments, and whose cousin or whose brother or whose, you know,
yeah.
who was covering for who. You see shit like that. That happens over and over.
Well, I said to Tony too. It's really there's a lot of mistakes and miscues in this investigation that the police did that you're left to like wonder, like
Yeah.
like Shones. They tried to question him, and he was in the hospital, and he acted like, well, this was too stressful. I just had a heart attack and shit. But it's like, why not go back like a year later? Why not go back like 5 years later and talk to this fucking guy? Like, just lean on him every so often and see fucking if his story still holds up and shit. But they kind of seems like they just kind of let him off the hook and fucking accepted his story as is, even though there was a whole bunch of issues with it. So it's I hate to say I like the case, but it's certainly it's captured my imagination. That's probably the nicest way to put it. It's really leaves you wondering, like, as you said, Adam, there's all kinds of little moments too. It's like, why does Ted Weir have Gary Mathias's shoes? So it's like, okay, so then Gary Mathias should have been up there, but it's like, yeah, we can't be sure of that. And it's a
There's
really
that Gary Mathias was thrown over the bridge.
Right, yeah.
There's all these rumors and speculations, and yeah.
Of course, if documentaries, high profile documentaries on all these streaming interests now, lead to things being solved, it's great for the families with things like murders or disappearances. But how do you feel about the way that a lot of these documentaries are kind of picking up on these older mysteries with that have their own histories of investigators and work into them? I'm definitely thinking about the octopus documentary that's on Netflix now, and the Ken Thomas fans got kind of upset about him not being mentioned in there, things like that. It really seems like these docs are combing through all these old mysteries. And do you think that a lot of these researchers, and I know you're a big fan of the actual personalities, who've been exploring these mysteries for so long, do you think a lot of these guys are just going to get kind of left out of the narrative when they did a lot of this pioneering work?
It's possible. It's possible. I know of the Netflix show you're talking about. I didn't watch it in part because I heard that they just took the story and Feral House, I believe. Yeah. Feral House has like the rights to, I don't know, the story or something.
It was an Illuminate book first, I think, and then it was Feral House. But
yeah, but the point being, like, they just took the story and did it and didn't fucking even work with.
They went to the archive that Ken Thomas put together also and mentioned that he went to the St. Louis University of Missouri archive to find these Danny Castellero files, and they never mentioned him there either.
They didn't even mention him in there, even though it was his archive?
Nope.
That's really fucked up. Yeah, see, was it a documentary? I didn't see it. So
yeah, multi-part, and it was well done, and it had a lot of archival footage, and something that it really pointed out to me, because I'm really too young to have seen or remember media coverage of this, is that this was a mainstream story. It's not just doesn't just belong to the conspiracy theory crowd. It wasn't marginal. It was primetime TV.
Yeah.
So it's well put together, and they actually get interviews from people who were around the situations of Castellero and the entire alleged conspiracy itself. But yeah, that was just kind of weird, and it makes me think that these documentaries are big business now, and I really think they're just going to be combing through.
Well, they've run out of stuff. Yeah. They've run out of stuff for sure. It certainly feels that way, which is good in the sense of like the Yuba County Five case gets going, but it's not necessarily good in other instances. It all depends on the shadiness or the integrity of the people who make the show, I suppose, right? Because it's like, if you want to do a good show, you want to get the good people, and if you see a show that has like clowns on it, like that, those of us who are in the field see something and we're like, oh, dude, they got that guy on there. Like, no, forget it. That's like ridiculous. So, I mean, it's a bummer about the octopus show. I didn't even watch it because I heard that it was kind of like, it sounds to me like they almost, like they acted like they were taking a fresh look at it and shit without acknowledging that it had been investigated by Ken Thomas for a long time. So yeah, and other people as well, obviously. And it's a bummer, but it's just weird. There's like a parallel track sometimes of like people who are mainstream that talk about the shit that we talk about, and it's like they don't get down in the mud with us in the trenches.
Right, where were you? Yeah,
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering what your thoughts on that would be. But of course, I mean, if it's something that if it leads to justice or some kind of answers for family members and things like that, then I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, there are good ones and bad ones. I find, honestly, my main gripe about them is that they're fucking too long. Like,
yeah, the multi-part stuff is just out of control, and it's being just driven by, the medium itself, and just give me 2 hours. I mean, damn, like
exactly
8 hours of the shit, like it's a lot.
Yeah, and always like when you get to about 3/4 of the way through, it's like that portion is just shit. It's like you really could have cut out episode 6 and 7 and just given us a 5-episode thing. That would have been fine, or whatever. Even cut it further down to like 3 episodes or whatever, some of these shows. But like, yeah, there needs to be a limit on them. When I see it's like so many episodes, usually like, nah, I can't really invest too much into this.
Well, they're coming, and Hollywood's coming, I think, and in our lifetimes, I think we're going to see a lot of our beloved little mysteries, that we grew up on, becoming raw material for this content-driven entertainment.
Yeah, dude. Well, look, like you can kind of see it in a way, like in the last like 5 years, but like nobody there's no copyright on fucking Bigfoot, and so
no shit.
You see Bigfoot fucking everywhere now. I think it dawned on people like at some point, like I said, maybe around the turn of the century, because when I first got into this, it was like Bigfoot was like super on the periphery of like even the pop culture-y zeitgeisty thing, and now Bigfoot's just like part of the American fabric. It's kind of fucking, it's awesome.
Well, speaking of Bigfoot, what were you talking about that Bigfoot movie, Sergio?
Oh man, I don't know much about it, but I just saw the piece of the trailer, and I just couldn't. But
you couldn't watch it.
Do you want to watch it on here?
No.
No.
I'm gonna see the movie. I thought it looked pretty good. I heard it's
What is it called? Let's watch it. What is it?
Sasquatch Sunset, I think. Or something like that.
Sasquatch Sunset.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like supposed to be for people who don't know, if you haven't heard of it. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a nature documentary, but it's like comedic. It's like with Jesse Eisenberg, I think is his name, the guy from Social Network, and Elvis's granddaughter, who's apparently
Elvis's granddaughter. Yes.
Yeah. She has a funny name with a K, Keone or something like that. So yeah, and they're all like decked out. He's putting it on. Well, people can't watch it with us, but yeah.
No, but I think I can chop this up and we can. They are mysterious, reclusive, and unseen. Until now.
Like I said, like you were saying, they're mining all this shit right now. I don't think there's very much action. Yeah.
No, it's like a nature movie.
At least it's prosthetics, though, and not like CGI.
Oh, and then it gets really like sexual and shit.
Uh-oh.
And there's shitting and pissing and Yeah, people. This isn't going to be on the show, anyways.
Yeah, nobody can actually. Like, there's no words in this. Well, obviously, I guess they're speaking Sasquatch, right? So.
Yeah, right. Uh-oh. They're coming for the trees. I think it's got a real, like, Fern Gully kind of thing, environmentalist thing, too.
Well, now, see, this is one of the things. It's good to point out, though, the fact that, like, all this paranormal stuff is really being mined by Hollywood right now.
Yeah, and not that
all the podcasts and
that
all
obscure,
YouTube,
but yeah,
all the podcasts and all the YouTube channels that are dedicated to this, like
all the stuff we've been doing for free for decades is going to be
producers.
People are going to make millions. Is that how it works?
Yep, producers and writers are looking at all that stuff right now.
Well, you could have put Adam in a fucking Bigfoot suit and filmed him running around the woods. There was no one stopping you, right?
Hey, I'll do it. I'll do it.
I think it looks like a good movie. I heard it's like super gross at times, and people like are grossed out. So there's like all kinds of shitting and vomiting and God knows what else. So it's yeah, that's what I hear. People were like, "All right, this isn't for me."
Are they trying to do like the first part of 2001? Because that's kind of what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll see it once it's on demand. I'm not going to go to the movie theater to see it, but I'll see it on demand.
Right. I think maybe they'll show it at the Bigfoot Museum.
Yeah, about 40 minutes outside of town here to the east at the foot of the Cascades, there's like this little novelty coffee shop that's Bigfoot themed. And I think they have like it's either a replica or it might have been used, like this little hut that was used in Harry and the Hendersons. Was it the scientist or the doctor or whatever, dude? Like his little...
Oh, cool.
So we could go see that if any of y'all come out here, but
there you go.
There's plenty out there of that theme of variety, I'm sure, in Washington State.
They love their Bigfoot up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's nationwide now for sure.
What did you want to bring up? Well, the Havana Syndrome stuff. I watched that 60 Minutes thing that Sir Field sent me tonight, and it's looking like Russia is doing that using some kind of like acoustic weapon.
Yeah.
It's like looking more and more like that's the case.
This phone conversation, right? Where the guy's like, do I just leave it on? So this guy was like across the street or something from this person's house with this beam weapon just cooking their fucking head.
Jesus.
This was in Georgia, the country of Georgia that this happened. It was like aimed at
American diplomats.
American embassy officials, yeah. And this one woman had basically like it kind of like blew out her like inner eardrum.
Fuck.
But she has like, issues with like, because they explained it that what this affects is like kind of like your sense of balance in your inner ear.
Yeah.
And it knocks it off to where like you don't really have a sense of balance and she said that when it hit her, it felt like it was something from like a movie where like she could only like really hear herself and she could only feel like just hear kind of throbbing and numbness. Yeah. Well, another interesting aspect of it too is that that could be a secondary side effect of it because it also messes with like computer equipment. So it's some kind of weird like sonic weapon or slash
microwave or something.
Yeah,
something, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they have all those kinds of weird weapons and shit. So it's like, it wouldn't, I guess maybe I kind of dismissed it just out of like, I'd rather not believe that that they're deploying that kind of shit. But yeah, it's, because also, I'm sure the government doesn't want you to think that that's possible either. So they're like, no, it's all psychosomatic or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really happened and they don't want us to fucking know about it. So that's, that I suppose that's the debate, right? That's kind of
or they don't want to acknowledge that, foreign governments who we can identify have
right.
basically permanently disabled American citizens
Exactly, yeah, because then it's
You
like,
know,
well, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go to war with them over this stupid incident that they did, this shitty thing. Like, but it's like, oh Christ, we can't fucking.
but these victims have been in a real pickle because like they
because
really
it's not
can't get
recognized.
acknowledgement.
Right.
Their careers
Yeah,
and health
sounds
has
like
fallen apart.
the Gulf War syndrome. So maybe yeah, maybe there's more to it than I had originally given much thought to. I haven't.
Well,
I should really just say that I just haven't really even looked into it too much. So
I really haven't either. I mean, I've heard about it and everything, but it's like one of those things. It's like, oh, it's just this story that comes across or whatever. But 60 Minutes has been doing like a whole bunch of
Right.
shows segments about it over the last few
yeah,
years. Like they've been really following the story.
interesting.
Um, I would say that one of the reluctance to probably for us to our own government to really look at or acknowledge it is probably because we use the same technology. I mean,
That's
there's
also
no
part of it.
possible
Yeah,
way that the Russians have a corner on this like this technology. I mean,
right.
no way. But it
But
was
yeah,
really crazy. Like this one,
but it was thought that it would be like a more rogue type of country, like maybe because it first started
yeah,
happening, I think, to diplomats in Cuba, where
right,
North Koreans are
right.
welcomed,
Or it was
Iranians
the
and
Cubans
others.
themselves that were doing it.
Right,
What
right.
was first. That was what was first said.
But
And then,
it looks like 60 Minutes, is really trying to put out a couple smoking guns that identify Russians in particular, connected to what's called the GRU Unit 29155. That's to the Wikipedia says a Russian unit tasked with foreign assassinations and other activities aimed at destabilizing European countries. This unit is thought to have operated in secret since at least 2008, though its existence only became publicly known in 2019.
yeah.
Well, there you go.
And
It's fucking Russians again.
another crazy thing in that 60 Minutes interview or that segment was that in Florida, I don't remember what year they said this was, but it was
I
like
already don't
southern,
like the sound of this.
yeah, it was in southern Florida,
Oh
and
boy.
this guy was running from the police in his Mustang, and they caught him, and he was a Russian guy, and they said that the FBI took him into custody. He had all this different, uh, he had like this like weird. It looked like a walkie-talkie where it would like erase like the computer system of the car and like erase the GPS and where it had been and all these type of things. So he had like
Weird.
all this like weird equipment in the car. And the FBI took him in custody. Eventually, they took him back to Russia. He had been here as he was working as a chef, but he was obviously doing other nefarious things. And he eventually goes back to Russia, and the Americans told him don't go back because they're probably going to kill you because the FBI, you've been in FBI custody and you've been debriefed by the FBI, so they're going to want to know what you know, or they're going to think you're a double agent.
Yeah, they're never gonna believe you. Yeah, you're
Yeah, and they
torched.
found out that he died in Ukraine in 2022. And so
Oh,
the speculation there is that he was sent over there to be eliminated, basically. Figured he'd die in battle and that would be it.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. There's all kinds of gamesmanship going on, you know. So I'm glad I don't. I'm glad I fall outside the purview of sonic weaponry and shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
That
try to
does not
stay
sound
away.
that does not sound like fun,
No.
or any other kind of weaponry. We're talking about the Delphi, Indiana case, which we
Yes.
haven't talked about on
Yes.
the show yet. I think you did
I'm.
mention on one of the episodes, but
Yeah, I think I talked about it a little bit maybe back when I was on a few years ago when they first made the arrest. It's a very interesting case. I'm deeply involved in it, following it. It's really complicated. I'll give it sort of a thumbnail, but these two teenage girls were murdered back in like 2018, I think. I'm terrible with dates, folks, as you haven't figured out by now. So yeah, I think it was 2018. So
that sounds right.
yeah, and it made national news because it was like in broad daylight in this Indiana park, and they had just crossed this giant like bridge, that went over like railroad tracks, I think, or water, but a giant, super tall bridge. It's like in the community. It's part of like a fabric of the community kind of thing in this park. And they filmed what is believed to be the person that murdered them. But then the case went cold, or that was what everybody knew essentially for like 4 years or something. And then they arrested this guy Richard Allen in October of 22, and so he's been waiting to go on trial now for like 2 years, and the trial starts next month. Actually, May 15th is when it's scheduled to start. And the case, and since he's been arrested, the already weird case, and it's hard to explain, but the people, it's like became like one of the most popular and famous, infamous sort of like online cases where people really kind of fueled sort of the web sleuth phenomenon in a lot of ways. Because there was all kinds of people that were put forward as like suspects and shit in this double murder for years and years. So essentially, since they arrested Richard Allen, it's come out that the defense team put up this thing called the Frank's Memo, which is like a legal move to strike stuff from the search warrant and shit, stuff gotten from the search warrant. And in this Frank's Memo, they essentially like laid out their defense theory on what happened based on evidence that they got from police in the discovery. And it's like, it doesn't sound at all like this fucking guy did it. And forgive me for this part here, folks, but there's the dead bodies of the girls had like sticks put on top of them and these Odin symbols and shit. And these were looked at by like highly credible experts from Harvard and Yale who are like into this stuff. And they were like, yeah, those are definitely someone trying to make Odinist symbols. And this guy, Richard Allen, had he was like a fucking pharmacy guy at CVS. There's no indication he was mixed up in this. Meanwhile, there's this gang, essentially, of fucking Odinists, believe it or not, who are kind of circle around this area and shit. And based on testimony from investigators and shit, these other police investigators investigated it. And when they arrested Richard Allen, the other investigators were like, hey, did you look into the Odin thing? And the Indiana cops were like, yeah, don't worry about it. We looked into it and shit. But the Odin thing makes more sense because like one of the guys implicated in the Odin theory, let's call it, fucking said to police, if you find my DNA on those girls, I can tell you how it got there. I can explain that. And like they fucking, yeah. And it's astounding. And he, like, the same guy, like, told his sister, like, we did some bad shit. I'm going to get in trouble. I did some bad shit. And, like, another person said that there was, like, a falling out between members of the Odin gang because they had a ritual by a river and one of the guys took things too far. So there's a lot of, like, testimony that seems to suggest that there was some kind of, and they're not, like, Odinists. They're just kind of, like, they're just kind of like a gang of rednecks, dude, like who kind of have the Odinist thing and that's sort of their shtick, but they're not like running around in robes and shit. I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but
mainstream Odinists necessarily would not recognize them.
Right. They're just like the equivalent of like a biker gang without fucking bikes, essentially. So they're like, they're like, we're the Indiana Odinists. So that's kind of what everybody's been talking about who follows this case, where it's like, is this guy, I'm dying for this trial because I want to see what the fucking evidence is against him. There's really isn't much.
Yeah, well, here's the question. So I watched the thing called Down the Hill. This is before they caught him, that this thing was made.
Right.
And the title of that comes from the fact that one of the girls had managed to record his voice saying
same.
down the hill.
Right.
Okay, that's where the title comes from. But there was also this kind of really like blurry picture that was
Yes.
taken from the side.
Yeah, that's like the most famous, like that's the iconic picture from the case. Yeah.
So was there? So they are speculating that that is him. I'm supposing Richard Allen, but
Yes.
however, they did talk about in the same documentary. They did talk about how it was possible that there could have been more than one person involved.
Right.
Which
It's
would
always
fit with the Odin, which you talk with the Odinist stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's I think. I mean, I certainly don't like. I'm waiting for the trial to see what comes out because it's like, okay, this Odinist theory really it sort of like explains a lot of this better than this. The guy Richard Allen, he's like 5 feet tall. He might even be shorter. Like he's like I think he might even be like 4'11". And they're saying that he corralled these two girls like across a creek and like a quarter mile through the woods, and then he murdered them. And it's like, you know, how did this guy fucking even do this? You know, it sounds impossible. And then the way the bodies were found, like it would have taken a considerable amount of work to get the sticks, to arrange the sticks. There was aspects, I don't want to get too graphic. There was aspects of the bodies that were like, this shit would have taken time. So he would have had to move them into different positions and shit. It's like, the whole thing is like, wait a minute. This makes a lot more sense if it wasn't just one dumpy little dude who did this. Like, it would make a lot more sense if this was like several people who had arranged for this to go down. So that's the, you know, it seems more plausible to me than this guy. But like I said, I want to see what the state has, because as far as I know, he came forward after the girls went missing, and he was like, I was there. And he said he gave one. He said he gave one set of time to the original report. The police have kind of expanded it and suggested he was there longer to make it fit with him in the crime scene. No one's entirely sure exactly how long he was at the park, but he by his own words said he was at the park. And then police said they found a bullet. This is like literally the smoking gun of the case, I think, in their eyes. They found a bullet casing. I don't even know if it was a casing or a bullet, but essentially they claim that it matches his gun, but it was like not from being shot. You know how they can match a gun from being shot? There's also this science there. They claim they can match a bullet that like comes out of the gun, like you put it in and you take it out, like loading it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Surfiel, I'm looking at you too, because I can't tell. I'm completely unfamiliar with guns, but that's the deal. Like the gun wasn't shot. Somehow the bullet that was in the gun came out of the gun. I don't fucking know. I'm not a gun person, but it's a very nascent science. It's very controversial. It's like you can't really necessarily. And they found the bullet. They found the bodies. They searched the crime scene. They left the fucking crime scene. Like 2 weeks later, they went back and looked around the crime scene, and then they found the bullet that was like, and it was like in the dirt. So it's like, wait a minute. Like, you can't even be sure this is even fucking connected to this crime. And like, how did you miss it the first time? Like, or did you just fucking drop a bullet there to fucking, because you needed, I mean, I don't necessarily think like a super conspiracy or anything, but certainly like the aspect of the bullet is really fucking flimsy. So, but they said they did a search warrant. They found he has a gun. They claim it matches a gun. But like, I don't know how you can match a gun from a bullet that came out of it from just being in it. I don't know. That's the debate over the science of it, you know? And is it like, is it as precise as a fingerprint or DNA or anything? I think not. I don't think it is. I think it's just like, okay, it could have come from that kind of gun or something like that, you know? And then it's like, well, how many fucking people own that kind of gun? So it's very, I need to see a lot more than that, but that's all they seem to have. There's no DNA. There's no, computer forensics. Like maybe this will all come out in the trial, and I'll be sitting there going, "Oh, this guy totally fucking did it." Like, of course he did. But in the arrest warrant, that's all they fucking have.
Yeah. You know what, Tim? I think we need a Tim Binnall true crime spinoff podcast.
That would be good. Well, I'm thinking about doing a Delphi episode closer to the trial. So if people are interested in that, they can tune in. But yeah, it's a really crazy case because it's, to me, when you hear these stories, they're almost always get the guy. Like when they get the guy, you're like, all right, they got it. It's, it's pretty cut and dry. And like, this is one of the first cases I've ever seen, one of the very few I can remember where it's like, I'm not really sure they got the guy this time. Like, I think maybe they fucking are railroading this dude. So as I said, I'm really interested in them proving the case at the trial next month because, believe me, it doesn't feel good to be like, I'm kind of on the side of this person that did this terribly evil thing, but they claim, but it's like, no, I think you guys fucking got it wrong here because it doesn't add up at all. And you don't really have any evidence beyond this really crazy bullet theory. So, it's really wild. But if they come out in the trial and they're like, look, we found, evidence from the murder at this guy's house, then it's like, oh, well, of course. Well, then fucking what have we all been doing here? Like, why didn't you just tell us that before?
There probably is something that's being held back that they're gonna pull up in trial. I mean, there almost usually has to be.
Yeah,
it is very frustrating though for people that are following a case, but just like that if there's not, then it's interesting to me that you had this idea that there was more than one person
right
before they caught him. And I guess now that's totally out of the window, I suppose. But then you have this other weird connection.
Yeah.
Like those little figurines. I mean, that almost sounds like the first season of True Detective is what that sounds like.
That's what people are saying. It's very reminiscent, and it was around the same time. So, and it's like, but again, the whole idea is like, well, who's more likely to do that? The fucking like. The little dopey guy who works at CBS, or like this gang of guys who call themselves mystical, the mystical riders or whatever, like you have to kind of, when you hear the whole theory and shit, you have to detach your mind from this idea that they're like actually some kind of disciplined, like fucking sect of Odinist. We're talking dudes who just think the shit looks cool, like wannabe Viking types, Yeah,
they arrested him in, looks like it was 2022, towards the end of 2022. So it's been like a year and a half. Since they arrested the guy.
Yeah, so, and then just to complicate it, it's very like, everything's kind of under seal and shit, but they alluded to like that he confessed to his wife on the prison phone call. But then there's also, he's been kept in like solitary confinement in prison, even though hasn't even gone to trial yet. And he's like been subjected to like inhumane conditions in the fucking Indiana prison system to the point that like they pretty much argue that like he's lost his fucking mind essentially. And, he's like not doing too well. Maybe that's because he did it and he knows he's fucked, or maybe because he didn't do it and he's like, this is insane what's happening to me. So, and again, it's like they allude to this. Let's hear it at the trial. Like, I want to hear what he has to say in the trial because in a recent, I read all the fucking court documents for this case, like as it's unfolding, and like, now I saw one this week from like where they. Again, bring up the confession. The confession apparently, the defense mentions this confession where it's like he fucking he said like he shot the girls in the back or something like that. And it's like, well, no, that's not even what happened, dude. So it's like, what so you're just fucking, you're making shit up about the case. Why? I have no idea.
It could also be a coerced confession too.
Right, exactly.
That's entirely possible.
Right.
And,
So
and police never do that. They never coerce confessions. It never happens.
no, not at all. No, no. But yeah, so I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm really on the edge of my seat looking forward to this trial, and it's yeah, like there's a lot of shady shit that's happened. Like when they put out this Frank's memo, then there's a whole other aspect of the case that a friend of the defense team fucking stole copies of the pictures of the crime scene, which are like, I don't think those will or should really ever see the light of day, even though I'm honestly intrigued by what the fucking symbols are. Like, these are two, like, unfortunate dead people. It's like, that's not really for my consumption. It shouldn't be for anyone's. But of course, everyone's sort of fascinated by this case. So apparently, like, the pictures like spread behind the scenes to different like Delphi YouTubers, because it's like a fucking cottage industry, this case. There are like several fucking podcasts and YouTube shows that are devoted just to this case. And then hold on, then the fucking judge threw the defense team off the case, like and they had to appeal it to the Indiana Supreme Court to get put back on the case. And it's like, it just seems like this dude there isn't even getting necessarily a fair trial as it is. It's like, what the fuck what is going on in Indiana, man? This is crazy.
That's pretty weird.
Yeah, well, I think I mean, you can kind of go back to the Yuba County. I mean, just like what is going on. It's all about what is going on in the police department. You know, it's either what is going on or is someone being protected. And we know that type of thing goes on all the time.
Yeah, and especially with this Odin thing, it's like, if it's kind of like a loose,
it's also possible
fellowship. It could be some cops involved. There could be, it's a small fucking town, so it's like, who the fuck knows? There's
possible too and sometimes in some of these murder cases that it's possible that the person that did it or a person that may know who did it, sometimes are an informant. So that happens as well. And maybe the police don't want to lose an informant, or, I mean, who knows?
Well, I think to jump back, I think that's been put forward with the Yuba County Five case and shown, actually, that he might have been a police informant. And also then you couple it with them having disregard for the boys because of their handicaps. I could totally see how that combination of events led to the mystery unfolding, in a sense, where it's like, look, we're just gonna, if Shones had anything to do with it, they might have been like, well, we don't want to lose Shones over this stupid thing that he did to these kids. So, that's a possibility too.
I think there's a wider discussion to be had about some of this, like, true crime. And true crime is huge. I mean, it's big.
Oh, it's big. It's like probably bigger than paranormal.
And I'd say it definitely is. The one thing that so in Nashville, we had a couple of these like disappearances, and one was solved recently. The Riley Strain that was pulled out of the river, the college student from University of Missouri, but then Sebastian Rogers, who disappeared at the end of February.
I've been following that case.
Someone
That's
that
really
I know.
weird.
Someone that I know lives in that neighborhood and has told me that it is crazy in the neighborhood. They're flying drones over the house.
Oh, jeez.
People are the YouTubers and podcasters, and just all kinds of people are there day after day, just causing problems. And, so you really do have to think about just like, that's another thing. That's a whole other industry, another YouTube and podcasts and TikTok and all that. It just like
content bullshit.
Always. Yeah. It's all about content, but it's also, it's really exploiting tragedy too.
Yeah.
And at least get out of the way of the families. I mean, God.
Yeah. And but in the Sebastian Rogers
and taking video, that's out of control.
This happened at the end of February, right? He disappeared at the end of February. It's not even been 2 months. The Delphi case, well, you can say, well, that was 2017 that occurred, and it was a cold case for a long time. But specifically with the Sebastian Rogers case, it's been a madhouse up there.
Right, right. Well, that came up. I think it connects to the TikTok thing we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Because that really kind of became an issue. I noticed with the Idaho forced murder that happened in 2022 also.
Right, right.
November 2022. That was the first time I know that it became a thing. Like, not so much that people like talked about the case as it was unfolding, but like with the added element of the TikTok shit, and it became super intense, and people, like all kinds of people, were accused of murdering those college kids, and to the point that like one college professor up there is suing a TikTok psychic who was like, this lady did it. She was in a lesbian love affair with one of the girls, and she fucking came and murdered them all. I can see it in the fucking ether and shit. And the lady's like fucking rightfully suing her.
Yeah, because that's fucking libel.
Yeah, dude. And there was a lady that went missing in England, and the same thing happened there, where like people just kind of like swarmed the area and fucking had all these crazy theories and shit. And it's like, that's becoming more and more of an issue when like something happens. Like, and I mean, look, I don't join in on the fucking frenzy, but I certainly sit back and like look at what's happening. So like with the Sebastian Rogers case, as soon as you mentioned it, I'm like, that's another one that I'm following right now, the Sebastian Rogers case. Cause it's like, okay, what is going on with this thing? But I'm certainly not jumping on YouTube or TikTok to be like, here's a video of Sebastian Rogers' parents on Nancy Grace, and if you look at the way she moves her arm when she says this, it's clear that she fucking murdered him. And it's like, dude, no, you can't do that. So, but that's happening more and more. Like, it's this real-time sleuthing.
Yeah,
that's
really what's different. I think you just hit the nail on the head. This like real-time stuff is a whole nother level.
Yeah. Well, the Sumner County police had to come out, and they it looks like Sergio's pulling up a video here. The Sumner County police basically had to do a press conference where they basically said, look, rumors are just going everywhere about what's going on, because frankly a lot of people are suspecting the stepfather and the mother.
Right. Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And so, but like rumors, and there's some weird stuff with it, but they said that rumors are like really going just out of control. And they basically were like telling people, let's simmer down. Let's wait for the information to come out.
Right.
So yeah. What you got?
Yeah. What do you got? What are you doing here?
I don't know. I was just looking for the not the actual photos, but like diagrams of the supposed runes. The stick runes are laid out on the bodies, but this just popped up. So let's see what this is. This looks like it might be some of these exact people we're talking about. Looks pagan sacrifice.
The music.
Sensational shit.
That's really it. That's kind of, I guess, what irritates me about that stuff. Yeah, they have to like overlay the music and fucking make it all creepy and shit, and add the graphics and stuff. And it's like, I'm just old school. Just let's just talk.
It gets those views, man. That's the thing. And like we've talked about this before, but like the short attention span is just crazy now, essentially because of TikTok.
Yeah. It's it's generational, I guess, because I really don't follow it, but it's shaping the perspective of people younger than me. So it's kind of it can get pretty crazy.
Well, Tim, I want to thank you for coming on, man. This has been a great. We covered quite a few bases tonight.
Explored a lot of history.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, this is good because I hadn't had a chance to really. Well, it's fun. I always hate to. Yeah, I like talking about the Yuba County Five case. So it was fun. Yeah. It was fun to get into that. And hopefully open some people's eyes to that. And the Delphi thing is like crazy. So, and I haven't had a chance to talk about it on my show. And it's like, people, it's just weird because like, yeah, it's like it occupies like I wouldn't say a lot of my time, but certainly like, every time there's a court filing, I'm like, all right, what's the latest in this? Because there's always like these little weird like nuggets of information in it. So yeah, no, I've had a blast. I love talking to you guys, you know that, and you always throw me some interesting curveballs and food for thought, and I enjoy it. And I'm going to see you later on this year. I'm sure I'm going to be on the show again as we get closer to Nashville.
But before we talk a little bit about that, tell people where they can find Binnall of America.
You can find the Revival, yes. Binnall of America at binnallofamerica.com, BINNALL of America.com, or just punch in Binnall podcast on Google. We're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on the Apple podcasts. We're going to hopefully revamp the website, really like devamp it in a way, and just kind of like get it down to like brass tacks, so you don't have to necessarily look all over the place for the show. Because right now it's just kind of superfluous because people can just get the show off the pod. There's really nothing on the website worth going to anymore. It's just like a graphic that takes you to the thing. So that's So you find the podcast all over the place. Binnall, BINNALL on Twitter, and also Binnall of America on Facebook. That's pretty much it. And if you want to read, as everybody knows, we actually didn't even get into my stuff with Coast to Coast, but of course I'm the news editor for Coast to Coast AM, and people can find just a slew of my articles, like a dozen every week, pretty much at the Coast website, Coast to Coast AM. That's TO. So coastam.com. Check it out. And we'll leave people with exciting news, because I think we're going to regather in Nashville this year. So I will, in the spirit of the revival, I will revive 40 and Feud for this year's festivities. Yeah. If you'll allow it, I don't know.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that would be excellent. Yeah, we did this Family Feud like game at the end of Friday night at Strange Realities last year, and it went really well. So
yeah, nobody quite knew how it was going to go or what it was going to be like, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. So now that we know, the second time around is going to be even better. I mean, now we've worked out all the kinks and everything. So yeah, 40 and Feud is going to be off the hook this year. I'm actually really excited about it. When you said you were going to do another event, I'm like, we got to fucking do 40 and Feud again. That was so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Tim is channeling his inner Steve Harvey.
It'll be awesome.
We'll get you a mustache this time.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I'll just shave everything but the mustache. Well, thank you very much, guys. I had a blast. Yeah. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for coming on, and also November 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We are going to be doing the Strange Realities Conference. We're going to be putting up tickets are going to be going up very, very soon, guys. So please, come grab those as soon as you can. We want to see you in Nashville, or there's also the online option too, but in Nashville would probably definitely be better because you get to hang out with great people like Tim Binnall.
Yes, Tim Binnall will not be off in the green room. He will be accessible. You'll be able to shake the man's hand.
We'll have fun.
And buy him a beer.
There you go.
All right, guys. So that's that is coming up in a little more than 6 months. We want to see you there. StrangeRealitiesConference.com. Stay attentive for that, and we'll have tickets up very, very soon. Also, there's our Patreon. If you guys feel like you want to support what we do, and Serfiel can tell you where to find that.
You can find that at patreon.com/Conspirinormal. Well, we still can give a little bit of a preview, I think, because this should come out a couple days before Greg Bishop's Strange Realities streaming presentation on alien language, which will be next Wednesday from now, which falls on the 24th. For anyone who wants to save some money, you can become a Patreon of Conspirinormal, and we're going to let everybody at the $5 level and up attend this one. Otherwise, tickets are $10 through Eventbrite. but we're going to have more of a general admission for this event, trying to really pack those digital seats over at patreon.com/conspirinormal.
All right, excellent, guys. Thank you so much. And we will be back next time. Walter Bosley will be joining us on Conspirinormal.